Kingdom. We'll be talking to Professor Tim Wilson, who joins us from Rugby United Kingdom. Good afternoon, Professor Tim. Thanks for joining NewsHour.
It's very nice to be here. And you're quite right. This, I think, is probably the biggest political scandal, certainly since the Second World War. And it's a scurrilous scandal. That's really the main problem. This is not a major issue. This is a party which has become a major issue, and it's about honesty, it's about integrity, and it's about whether our Prime Minister is fit for the job. And I think that there's a gathering conclusion that he's not fit for the job. The next question is, when does he go? And if he were to go soon, the people who are lining up to take his place are equally smeared with dirt and sleaze. These are the people who were sitting on the front row of the government benches in the Commons yesterday. These are the people who Chris Bryant, who's on the Labour side, said every single one who defends the failings identified in the Sue Gray report will fail again and again. This report is going to dog everybody who tries to defend it. And, you know, it's extraordinary. The people who are wheeled out to defend Boris are the weakest ministers in the cabinet. People like Nadine Dorries, who represents the digital media, culture and sport, an extraordinary acronym. She hasn't done her job as a minister, and she clearly fails when she's being interviewed. The interviews she gave last night was so lackluster and so leaden, and she ended up simply stonewalling and looking lost. You know, that is not what a government needs if it wants to wheel somebody out to defend its behaviour. It's not what Boris needs.
All right. Now, Professor, I certainly want to hone in on the Sue Gray report, but before I do that, I just want to talk about yesterday briefly. Now, at one point, the Prime Minister, during the question-answer session, seemed a bit apologetic, but on numerous occasions, he was on the defensive side as Labour's Starmer questioned the PM's activities during the lockdowns. Now, what do you make of yesterday's revelations?
Well, the apology he began with was clearly not an apology. And that was the words which we hear generally if we try and telephone a mobile telephone company. I'm sorry, you're upset. But when Aaron Bell told his story about going to his grandmother's funeral, delivering a eulogy, travelling 3 hours by car, not having tea at his family house, not hugging his parents or his siblings, getting back into the car and going back to his constituency immediately after the funeral, he said, "Was I a fool?" And Boris then replied, and he said that he seemed to be apologising properly. He said the misjudgments that may have been made by me. That's about as close as he got to a real apology, and I think that came much closer than anything he said before. However, when he was talking to Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, the amount of invective, he misjudged the mood of the House, I think, and he started attacking Keir Starmer. He even suggested that Keir Starmer was responsible for not prosecuting Jimmy Savile, a notorious paedophile and media personality who dominated TV in the 1970s and 1960s, and got away with it and then died. And Keir Starmer was not due to prosecute Jimmy Savile. This is a nonsense. This is false news. This is something Boris has picked up, I think, from Twitter. It was a cheap jibe. And after that, the number of politicians from his own side who attacked him, leading the way, of course, was Theresa May, the ex-MP, the ex-Prime Minister, who stood behind him and magnificently asked 2 questions. Had he not read, or had he not understood the rules? In other words, was he lazy or was he stupid? And he refused to. Well, he didn't answer the question. He evaded the question, of course, in the way that is routine in Prime Minister's questions. But that question hangs over him now. Was he stupid or was he lazy? And I don't think he's going to survive that question from a former Prime Minister. I cannot think a former Prime Minister who savaged her successor so successfully in the way that Theresa May did. Even Edward Heath, who attempted to savage Mrs. Thatcher, never got that far. This was a knife in the back, and it was spectacular.
Okay. Now, Professor, it's not just Boris Johnson's closest rivals who are asking him to quit, but his own party members are beginning to lose confidence in his leadership. Now, so at this point, is it fair to say that PM Boris Johnson failed to unite and lead the United Kingdom?
Well, he's failed to unite. He's failed to unite the United Kingdom, or he has united the United Kingdom in opposition to him. Has he managed to bring his party together? After he appeared in the House of Commons yesterday, he went to talk to his own backbenchers at the 1922 committee. This is the committee that would trigger a leadership contest. And he seems to have bought himself time. He initially said that he wasn't prepared to. There was a person called Mark Harper, who was a backbencher, who asked him, "Will you publish the full Sue Gray report when it is given to you, unredacted?" And he was very reluctant to commit to this. And after the parliamentary session, a spokesman said that they would consider doing this, doing what's appropriate. And finally, they have agreed to publish that, I believe. So that is part of the effort to appease the backbenchers. The backbenchers are not happy. If you looked at the parliamentary session, they were very quiet, very quiet. Normally they are sort of cheering. And in a 1922 committee meeting, the journalists were gathered outside the door. Normally they would be able to hear the MPs banging on the desks and cheering. It was a silent meeting, apparently.
Okay.
This doesn't order well.
No. Okay, and Professor, what about the public's reaction here? Snap polls into how the public is reacting are fairly consistent, all above 60% saying that Boris Johnson should resign. What's the general feeling, if you like, in the country at the moment?
I think that sums it up very well. I think the question needs to be, when should he resign? There's no question he's going to resign now. I think what we need to do is to encourage him to do the right thing, to promote backbenchers to key ministerial positions so they have the experience to be able to take over. It's the least he can do at this moment. So, for example, yesterday, the news should have been dominated by his conversations with President Putin. They were put off, and instead, Monsieur Macron spoke to President Putin. He is even dodging the job that he is supposed to be doing. He was elected to be Prime Minister. He is not being Prime Minister. He is messing around, answering stupid questions about whether or not he was playing ABBA songs and cheering at the disappearance of his chief advisor, Dominic Cummings. And Dominic Cummings is, of course, pouring on information. Apparently, Boris is leaving secret papers around. He's not going through his red boxes, which a Prime Minister and a Minister has to do daily. He's leaving these boxes outside the door at number 10. This constant trickle of gossip, really, it's not even news, this constant trickle of bad gossip is what is going to destroy Boris Johnson's premiership. And Boris will be remembered not for getting Brexit done, not for overcoming COVID, but for being flawed by parties. He will be the hedonist Prime Minister. It's shocking.
Now, lastly, Professor, I just want to look at the Sue Gray report. And it's probed a total of 16 events. It says the drinking culture in a professional environment is unacceptable and that everyone made personal sacrifices apart from those at number 10 Downing Street. Now, looking at all these events, do you think that well, you did say that it's inevitable and he will resign in the near future, but how soon and what more do you think we'll hear from the PM in the coming days?
Oh, I think if there's any more leaks, he will probably have to resign very soon. But my hunch is that he will probably hang on for about a year until the Cressida Dick Met police report is published. I think that will not be in his favour. But I think he has about a year to sort the party out. to make sure that it is ready to govern after he leaves office. At the same time, I hope this short period will be used by the Labour Party to make sure that it is ready to be a proper opposition, which it hasn't been so far. Keir Starmer has shown that he's got mettle. Keir Starmer has shown that he can be very good at the dispatch box now, but it's taken a long time coming. And as for the Sue Gray report, we now know there are extra parties that Boris seems to have been involved in. And the crunch one is on the 13th of November in Boris's flat. This was the celebration where ABBA music was played. The winner takes it all to celebrate the departure of Dominic Cummings. Boris denied that this party took place or that he was there on the 8th of December in Parliament in an answer to, I think, a lady called Catherine West. Now, to deny something, to lie to Parliament, this is a resignation offence. If that can be proven to be the case, then Boris will have to go immediately. But I don't think that proof will be on the table anytime soon.
Okay. Professor Tim, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on NewsHour this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Russia and the United States on Monday